All right, guys, I've tried to do this one a few times now. I'm just gonna relax, let loose. Let's talk about this. All right, so I'm grabbing my notes. So far, as you may recall, this month is a month of letting go. This is the first week of a month of letting go, and we are talking about the nature of letting go. So far we have discussed why we want to let things go, which is that they cause pain, they keep us stuck, and they pretty much ruin our lives. I mean, they run our lives. And then we talked about what it is that we're holding on to, these emotions, these experiences that we've had that we didn't really want to have, or that we didn't have and we wanted to have. These things, we hold on to these things that happened and are not happening anymore, but we continue to make them happen inside of us. Not saying it makes sense. It's just what we do. So then we discuss, well, how does that happen? What does it mean to hold on to something, and how is it that we hold on to something? And the answer there, if you recall, is that we felt an emotion we didn't like. We decided we didn't want to feel it, so we stopped. We refused to let it go through us, which meant we kept it there and held it there physically. And our energy and whatever got all messed up because these things, we keep holding these things instead of letting them go. And for more in-depth conversation about that, go to the last video. Today, let's talk a bit about why this happens. Okay, so we had an emotion we didn't like, but why did we have this emotion that we didn't like? That's where we want to start here, right? Because if we didn't have this emotion that we didn't like, we wouldn't be holding on to things. So what's that all about? The reason we have emotions that we don't like, that make us uncomfortable, is because, well, one of two things. Either something has happened that we didn't want to happen, or something didn't happen that we did want to happen. Lesson over. That's it. That's it. That's why we hold on to things, because we like something or we don't like it. You can call it a preference. You can call it an attachment. Point is, we, the human race, decided that there's something they want or something they don't want. And the uncomfortable emotion comes when we get that or don't get that, or don't get that and get that, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean. So what we then try and do, because not getting the thing we want hurts and getting the thing we don't want hurts, we think that the solution to this is to go out there into the world around us and manipulate it so that it gives us the things we want and doesn't give us the things that we don't want. Listen to that for a second. Does that make sense? Because I'm going to tell you a little secret that kind of hurts. The world has nothing to do with us. The universe is not about us. And I'm going to say this is the general you. Don't take this to be a personal thing. But it's not about you. It's not about you. Nothing in this world is really about you. From one perspective, from your very personal, experience in life, yes, obviously. But the universe is the way it is because of everything that has ever happened in every place that has ever been up until now. You do not have a lot to do. You do not have a lot of control over any of that. The only thing you have control over is yourself. So why would we go out into the world and try and change it to match what's inside of us? Because that's never going to happen. And if it does happen for 15 seconds, we're happy when we get that thing, or when we don't get that thing, great. There's a modicum of happiness that happens. But then there's the next thing, and there's always the next thing. If we wait if we wait to be happy until all the things outside of us line up so that they match the things that we have decided inside of us need to happen for us to be happy, we're never going to be happy. Attachments, preferences are the conditions that we put upon our own happiness. So, what's the solution here? It's not to go out into the world and try and make it be the way you want it to be, because that's just a silly thing to do. It's just silly. It makes sense when we're doing it, but it's not. It doesn't make sense. You've decided that the world should be the way you want it to be. That doesn't make any sense. There's no should there. Yeah, it would be great. And from a certain perspective, obviously, certain things should or should not happen, morally. But, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I am like self-righteousness is my Achilles heel. I love that feeling. I love feeling like, oh, but the fact of the matter is nothing has to do with me. And the only way to make ourselves happy is to arrange it on the inside so that things line up to make us happy. It's the only thing we have control over. But there still is this problem that we have, which is we've decided we want things or don't want things. What do we do here? What do we do about that? Well, we cannot decide that we're not going to feel them. We can't decide that we're not going to think things, because we're just going to think things and we're going to feel things. That's just the nature of how we work. And that is that's a huge conversation to go into, which we can go into at another time. But the fact is that we don't have a lot of control, at least right now, over our thoughts. And we certainly don't have control over our emotions, nor should we. We just have to accept them for what they are. It's the whole getting out of the river thing that we talked about yesterday. There's this river, there are emotions, they're flowing, there are rocks in there, and they're just going spray, 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 swirl, 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 and we're caught up and we're drowning. But if we can get out of the river and watch it, and I am telling you what I know and not what I'm able to do all the time. So we're doing this together, guys. We are doing this together. When we're able to do that and look at the stuff, that is when we can take the rocks out of the water. Or, as we discovered, release them and have them be washed away. So, the key here is allowing ourselves to feel what we feel and to think what we think. And just be like, oh, okay. Not to get caught up in it. And to do our very best not to hold on to things. That's kind of a funny way to put it. Let me look down at my notes and see what I have to say here about this particular part. Yeah, we just have to allow things to be the way they are, rather than trying to force it to be a way that we're not going to be able to do it. And this is kind of a funny thing too. Trying to manipulate things on the outside to make it what we want it to be on the inside is the same thing. It's trying to stop our thoughts or not feel our feelings is the same thing as that. That's not where we're working. We're not working with the thought. We're not working with the feeling. We're working with the thing that causes the thought and the feeling, which is the attachment, the urge to do something about this feeling. So, yeah, that's it. I think that's pretty much the conclusion I meant to come to. I didn't really build it as structurally brilliantly as I would have liked, but control on the outside, can't control emotions. We allow, yeah. So how do we do that? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Oh, wait. So even if you are trying to make things happen on the outside and it's just not working because there are things you want that will make you feel good or things you don't want that will make you feel better if you don't have them. And you keep getting mixed up in this and you're like, oh, this is how I gotta do it to make my life good. You gotta kind of let that go. and then you can choose to have a grateful evening, day, night thing.